Let's get rolling. Glasses in session, and let's start with the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Nebraska, obviously, by now, we kind of have known the story with them the last 10, 15 years. The kings of losing those one-score games. Just every year, it feels like Nebraska is a game or two away from either winning 9 or 10 games or winning 4 or 5 games, and they usually are winning 4 or 5 games. But this year is so pivotal for Nebraska because it's year 3 of Matt Rhule. And usually under Matt Rhule, as a college coach, he has been unbelievable in year 3. You go back to his track record and what he did with Temple. In year 1, the Owls only won 2 games. Then in year 2, they went 6-6. Year 3, under Matt Rhule, Temple went 10-4. How about when he was with Baylor? In Waco, they only won 1 game his first year. They went 1-11. Then in year 2, 7-6. Year 3 with Baylor took them to the Sugar Bowl. They went 10-2, 10-1 in the regular season. So now we're in year 3 in Nebraska. He's gone 5-7 his first year, 7-5 his second year. He's slowly been building up. They got off to a 4-1 start last year. Again, lost some tough games. They were up in the fourth quarter at Ohio State, up in the fourth quarter at Iowa. Couldn't win some of these games. They finished the year with 7 wins. And now the win total is sitting at 7.5 for Nebraska. And I'm liking the over for the Cornhuskers this season. You do have to pay the juice at -145. But again, I'm buying in year 3 of Matt Rhule. I'm buying in on his track record. Forget what he did with the Carolina Panthers and kind of that disaster. What he's done as a college coach at Temple, at Baylor, the progression that we've seen year 1 to year 2 and then year 3, and kind of what it's been at Nebraska. Again, they easily could have won probably like 9 games last year. They're kind of on pace to do what he's been doing at his 2 previous stops. And he certainly got the quarterback to do it with this year in Dylan Raiola, who comes back for another season. Defense is not going to be as great probably on paper as it was last year. But since Matt Rhule's been in Lincoln, they have not given up more than 20 points per game on defense. I expect them to be really good on that side of the ball. Again, they have a veteran offensive line, 4 juniors and a senior coming back. Raiola, as I mentioned, as the quarterback. Skill position weapons, running back, wide receiver, that's going to be the question mark for Nebraska. They're going to need somebody to emerge, somebody to step up. But I like their roster, and more importantly, I like the schedule for Nebraska as well, right? If you're watching us on Twitch or you're watching us on YouTube or X, I mean, you guys can see the schedule for Nebraska, right? When you look at the schedule, what's the thing that jumps out? No Oregon, no Ohio State, no Indiana, and no Illinois. 4 teams that certainly should be towards the top of the Big Ten. They do get Michigan at home, which is going to be big, their first Big Ten game of the season. And then they also get Penn State on the road as well. Even though I think Penn State might be the most talented team in the Big Ten, keep in mind, again, Nebraska did go on the road to Ohio State last year. They were beating the Buckeyes on the road in the fourth quarter. And with the way that Nebraska plays and how they can muck it up and keep games ugly, that could be a tricky game for Penn State there in Week 13 on November 22nd. But that opener against Cincinnati is going to be a big one. It's a neutral site game. It's going to be in Kansas City at Arrowhead. Should be a big Nebraska contingency. Should get a good home fan base for that one. Got to win that game, because if you win that, then after that, you're going to have Akron, Houston Christian. You're going to be 3-0 heading in to the Michigan game before the bye week. And that Michigan game is going to be so pivotal for Nebraska, because in their last 8 Big Ten home openers, they are 2-6 straight up and 1-7 against the spread. That's really been what has hurt Nebraska here in the last 8-10 years, is they have gotten off to slow starts in conference play. It's going to be really pivotal for the Nebraska Cornhuskers to get off to a good start this season. And they have a great opportunity to do that against Michigan. And Bryce Underwood, who's going to be a freshman, making his first career start on the road in front of nearly 100,000 people in a crazy, rocking environment. So if Nebraska's able to win that game, go 4-0, then you get the bye week. And out of the bye week, I mean, look at all the winnable games that they have, right? Michigan State, they're going to be favored in that game. At Maryland, they're going to be favored in that game. At Minnesota is going to be a tricky game. Minnesota's been a house of horrors for them here recently. They're 0-4 in their last 4 trips to Minneapolis, so that'll be a tough game, rivalry game. but they're probably going to be favored. If not, it's going to be like a coin flip, toss-up type game. Then they're going to be home against Northwestern, big favorites there. They're home against USC. That should be a win for them as well. You got USC traveling to Lincoln in early November, especially if the weather's not great. That certainly favors Nebraska. Then they have to travel out to the Rose Bowl, take on UCLA. The tricky part about the USC and the UCLA game, both of those teams are going to be coming off bye weeks when they face Nebraska. So that is something that they're going to have to deal with. But certainly both those games are winnable. And then they get a bye week before they take on Penn State. So they're going to have 2 weeks to prepare for Penn State, and that game certainly could be massive, could have Big Ten implications potentially of who goes to Indianapolis for the championship game, and then, of course, as they always do, end the season against Iowa. And I mentioned how Nebraska's not been good on the road against Minnesota. Man, they haven't been good at home against Iowa. Kirk Ferentz and the Hawkeyes have owned Nebraska here as of late in Lincoln. Nebraska 0-6 straight up and just 1-5 against the spread in their last 6 home games against Iowa. So, look, this is the story with Nebraska, right? Eventually, they're going to have to get over the hump. They're going to eventually have to win a lot of these close games that they've just been losing for the last decade. I think one of the top teams are probably going to end up winning the Big Ten. I think this is really a great year for Penn State to do it. Ohio State certainly could go and win the Big Ten for the first time in 5 years. Oregon obviously could go back-to-back. But if you're looking for a longer shot, if you're looking for the team that might be, I mean, nobody's going to be Indiana because they were like 300-1 last year to win the Big Ten. But if you're looking for kind of a middle-of-the-pack, kind of longer shot to win the Big Ten, I think Nebraska would be my pick at 40-1. The way that the schedule sets up for them, the fact that they don't have to play Ohio State, Oregon, Illinois, or Indiana, they get Michigan at home, they get Penn State off of a bye week. Every other game they're probably going to be favored, or they're going to be a small underdog, or it could be a pick'em type game. And then again, year 3 of Matt Rhule and what he's done at Temple and Baylor, how his teams get better. And usually year 3 is the culmination of all that progression and when it comes together. A lot of it's going to come down to Raiola, and he needs to be good this year for Nebraska. But if he is, I'm putting my faith in Matt Rhule. I like Nebraska over 7.5 wins. I'd look at them to win the Big Ten at 40-1 as well. Because again, if they get that win over Michigan, the fact they don't have to play Oregon and Ohio State, they could get some tiebreakers that could allow them to go to Indy, play for the Big Ten title game. So I like Nebraska quite a bit. Not going to pick too many long shots in a lot of these major conferences to win their conference championship. Nebraska is one of the teams that I would look at winning the Big Ten at 40-1.